Okay, my friends, very difficult decision I had to make today, whether to show this or not, and I decided that because of some of the statements that were written in the ancient texts that I should show this, and then everybody makes up their own decision. I fully understand biology and understand the transition zones and the membranes and how the vascular network works, and then the transition between vascular networks that feed some kind of tissue, membranes, and then another type of tissue. And that's what's called an abrupt transition. Now, I am going to show you this, and it's kind of scary, to be perfectly honest with you. Alright, so where are we and what are we talking about? This is, when you see black, it's normally vein blood, which is the used blood. And when you see red, it's normally the oxygenated blood. And I see these here, and I see a literal membrane. And you can see this, if you look carefully, you can actually see where things come in and out between this membrane. There's little places I found where, you know, it's eroded and everything now, but there was a membrane here that separated this, which I think was one of the ventricles, from the other ventricle, and this bled out in the desert. This is all red blood, and it runs all the way down. Look at this. All right, let's let that settle in. All right, you see that? Like I said, it's a little scary because this was the blood from that gigantic dragon. And it is just, his heart was punctured or something, and it was all running down. You see it flowing down through here? And that's right out from up and between his legs. This dragon ran all the way from here, all the way across North Africa. And that's right up in his guts area, and that's where I believe could have very well been his heart. And it split open and bled out. And there's a lot of blood came out of this big gigantic creature. And if you doubt that this is a dragon, this is his scales and his throat. And you have to Google Earth. So it's time everybody goes up and does a little investigation on their own rather than just paying attention to, you know, little clip here and clip there, you know, because there's a lot to learn about this. I paid real close attention to this, trust me. This is all run off from this creature. This is his throat. It's all the scales run all the way up and down his throat, all the way into his gut. Now, is that where the heart is? I don't know where they are in a dragon or in a bird either, because this is an avian creature. It has a cloaca right here at the end between where the butt is and the tail comes, where just about everybody's poops right there. And that's where the poop is, because that's where they're growing stuff, because that's where the biology ran out here. Right out there. And this is a cloaca. Two systems lumped together. You got the feces and the, you know, urine type stuff. And that came right out right there. That's where it would be located, and that's where it is. And the tail keeps going down here, and the scales are, the dragon tail scales are still here. And this is transition metals running off because they're different metal plates. You see the different metals? Those are metals. You see them? Look at it. It's just phenomenal what this is here. This is not just hills and valleys. And that thing goes all the way across North Africa, and it was trying to kill this fish. And remember I talked about blood vessels? Look at this. When he spit this stuff out, which is developed through this yellow stuff, comes up right out of his gut. And that's what creates the toxins, and they flow right down out of his whiskers. You see the whiskers here? They all have these whiskers. You see them? Look at that. You see this one? They all have those whiskers, and out of that whiskers flowed all of that stuff. and it went down to attack the fish. And that's the fin of the fish. And this is the actual vital flesh that it ate into, and we can see all the blood vessels. You see all those blood vessels? Those are blood vessels. Main artery type things brought in good fresh blood, and then they ran to all these little things over here to every single cell. You would never see this except that the toxins ate away all of the superficial surface stuff and were right down into the flesh. Isn't that elegant? Look at that. Now, so that's the flesh below the surface, which would basically be like our skin. It'd be looking under this, removing all the skin and the interstitium, they call it, and we'd be right down to where the flesh is being nourished by the blood vessels. Right? Now, if we go just a little further where the toxin did not hit, you see right here? If we did, there's the transition zone right there between where it hit and where it didn't hit. There's a little tiny bit of overlap, but not much. And then we get into nice flesh that has not been eroded, and we really can't see through it the way we could see through the other stuff. All right, it just looks like who knows what. But the other stuff, all of this is gone. And because of that, we can see what its fleshy nature was. And again, there it is. It's just undeniable to somebody that understands biology. And I can imagine that there's going to be some kind of interesting chemistry in these arteries. And you'll find different colors in here because of the transition metals. Anyway, and this is the giant fish. Now, I can't account for their sizes. All I can tell you is that there was history written about this, and we should understand this because, you know, we're all going to die. Now, is there such a thing as heaven and hell? Well, if there is, there was a heck of a lot written about it. And if it's true, it might all just be made up. I don't know. I'm not telling you to think one way or think the other way. But there's so much written about it, it's kind of hard to believe that it was all just written to scare kids. And they should be scared. I'm telling you right now. If you don't find the right path in this life, I don't know what's going to happen to you in the next life. And I don't know what's going to happen to me in the next life because I got a lot of things I feel terrible about. And I'm sure you do too. Everybody does. I would think. I mean, there might be some saintly people that have nothing to apologize for, but I got piles of things that haunt me every day, and that's the problem. If you do things when you're young and don't think about them, they will come back to you. And all you can do is just pray for forgiveness and hope that Jesus Christ, because that's where I'm going right now. I'm just going to lay it on the line for you. You can do anything you want. But as far as I can tell, from all the research I've done a lot of it, so I'm not just shooting from the hip. He was the only guy that came in peace, allowed himself to be destroyed in such a terrible, horrific manner, to show that you cannot stand with violence to create peace. You can only create peace through peace and love and friendship and morality. And that's the only way. So if you want to get to the next life, I think that's what Jesus decided. He said, hey, figure it out this time. Because next time, if you're coming, you're coming. But it's unlikely there's going to be too many coming. That's what I have found. I have found mostly is... Anyway, that's a whole other issue. All I can say is this is meaningful to me. I know a lot of people feel so educated that they just cannot understand that this could possibly be possible. That's okay too. This is all written about. There's going to be people who see, they're never going to see. They're going to hear, they're never going to hear. They're going to think, but what they think is what they thought. And they're never going to think in addition to what they thought. So they're stuck in what they were told to believe. And the people that were telling you to believe things had basically an agenda of to, you know, stop religion because it took the science away from them. If you go back to the science, to really, religion was science at one time. It was, and it still is. It's just that we've been denied the ability to look at this. Because if you talk about this in college, I'm sure, go to your professors and say, hey, what about the dragon in Morocco? What about the fish over here in Mauritania? And, you know, all of these things. I think you're going to have a little bit of an issue with your professors. Now, have you got the guts to walk up to them and say that? And say, can you please explain this? What do you think was going to happen to you there? And to me, if you're afraid to do that, then we got a real issue with education. If you're afraid to ask your professor questions, and if your professor demeans you and degrades you for presenting things that you have very, very good support for, just out of hand, and that's the only way that they can dismiss this is out of hand. Especially, you know, the light experiments, all of the DNA and the CAT scans and the giants that I have, all of that is off the table, 100% solidly secure. And if you're afraid to talk to your professor or your teacher or anybody about this, then you're an intimidated person. You're intimidated. You were more worried about what people are going to think about you than what you're thinking about reality. Reality means nothing to you, apparently. To a lot of people, it doesn't. They don't want to talk. No. People are going to think I'm crazy. Well, I think they're crazy. I think there's some people are literally crazy now for not being able to open their minds up and say, all right, show me what you got. And then we discuss it. It starts out with, nope. The guy's got to be crazy, stay away from him. And that's what it's come down to, education. It's not a good situation at the moment. So I'm not trying to be nasty to anybody. I'm just saying it's time to change the thought process and say, all right, let's examine things that we just thought were silly. It was absolutely nonsense, but they're there. Like they say to me, it's impossible. I said, why is it impossible? What are they going to eat? What did they do? What kind of games did they play? Who were their friends? What did they talk about? I don't know. I don't know any of those things. I don't know how they swam. I don't know what they ate. I don't know where they came from. All I know is in the ancient texts, Tiamat, who was supposed to be Mother Earth, created monsters to fight for her. And they're everywhere. I mean, this is only one, and that isn't even as big as they get. They get bigger, and they're all over the earth. The East Coast is a dragon. The West Coast is a dragon, Scorpzilla. The East Coast is Quetzalcoatl. And you think I'm kidding? Roger does not kid about dragons. There he is right there. It goes all the way up the East Coast. That is Quetzalcoatl. You see that? And here's his beard right here. You see the beard? The difference in colors is due to the difference in chemistry. The difference in chemistry is due to the difference in the body. The body is here. And here's his little bumpy nose. Oh, that little bumpy nose. And then it comes up here. There's his beard. And it snakes right around, coming off his head up in Little Rock. You see this right here? That's the feathers. They call them the plume serpent. Here's the feathers. If you go right down and look at them, you can see their feathers. And I'll show you the rest of the feathers. And that's why they're so green, because they're made out of collagens. Collagens grow really good green stuff and flesh. It makes very good green stuff. And so here's his head, goes all the way around, all the way up the East Coast, all the way up. And here's the feathers that are up here. You see, those are feathers. Oh, just hills that got bumped in the tectonic plate, this and that. No, those are feathers, my friend. And they come all the way up the East Coast. That is a big dragon. And then there's another one over here, Scorpzilla, which is even bigger. I just did a video on this. There's his Scorpzilla tail. There's his injector. It squirted out when he died, apparently, and just made this blob here. You see it? And that is an articulating Scorpzilla scorpion injector. That's why these wrinkles here. This can go back like this, and then, and his tail comes around and makes a clamp to do his injecting in. Only there was nothing in the middle. Normally he would inject it into something and we would have scorpulization. Now, where does his head end up? It is California. He said, oh, come on, Roger. I said, oh, no. There it is right there. There's his eyeball. And again, I'm sure we could probably find a beard. I didn't really look too hard. But maybe he doesn't have a beard. I don't know. But I can tell you what, that's a dragon. And it follows all the way up. This is his shoulder right here. This is the neck. And again, the colors are from, the colors of the vegetation are from the type of body tissue. And then over here in Fox, Alaska, was where this digestive system, and that was the one I did about physics girl. She went up there and they were literally in the rectum of this gigantic creature in one of its digestive system areas. It's a huge tunnel, and it goes all over the place up in here, and it smells exactly like dog poop. We got a lot of thinking to do. Alright, so don't forget, there was a lot of things on this earth that we should revisit. Alright, last word, thank you, I love you all.